Welcome back to New Rockstars. Seriously, what the hell is going on with Marvel Studios' Blade? The latest rumors from Daniel RPK this week suggest that the MCU Blade movie is now seeking a new writer for yet another round of rewrites, despite the storyline apparently being locked and a new male villain is being cast and filming is scheduled to begin in Mexico or Brazil in fall 2024. But why has this film had so much trouble? How important is Blade to Marvel Studios at the end of the day? And is it possible that this film will never happen? We're gonna talk about that. Hey, Jess.
Hi, Erik. Did you know what channel this is? This is New Rockstars. But what today is, this is the Sneak Peek, the weekly show on New Rockstars where we look ahead at the future of fandom. We look at the future of whether or not Blade's actually gonna come out.
You may have noticed this week we are back in our respective corners of the Blue Dungeon. After we shared a corner of the Blue Dungeon last week, we found that, like, you know, if my head is covering the spit stain, then the world will never know it exists.
Yeah, you can now finally twirl and move. And I can actually notice.
You know, Jess, I've been doing that for like 2 months.
I have not
noticed. You
noticed.
missed it.
I have not noticed you've been doing it. And I look at
Jess
you.
just has like a Galaga screen up covering everything.
It's just two screens that are me.
All right, I feel like deserve all of you a proper timeline breakdown of Blade and what has happened with this movie from the moment it was announced to where we are now and why it has gone through so much trouble. Is it the fault of the writers or the studio? Are there other factors at work that we can really point to? Let's break it all down. As far back as July 2011, when Marvel Comics CCO Joe Quesada confirmed at that year's Comic-Con that Marvel has regained the film rights to The Punisher and Blade. Previously, I believe the film rights to Blade might have been at New Line in the 90s. That's where the Wesley Snipes Blade films were throughout the 90s and the early aughts. And Jessica, you did an amazing breakdown of the first
Oh my
Blade
God.
film.
That's when we were ready for Blade to come back. Like the new Blade. We were like, oh, we're going to break down all of the Blades. Let's start with this one. It's been like how many years? We were prepared. And hey, I'm still ready. We're going to put that in the playlist once Blade is actually in production.
Right. That's right. There's been all these rumors that Wesley Snipes might return as Blade in like Secret Wars or Deadpool and Wolverine or something like that. We'll see. You know, big grain of salt with all that. You know, these legal contracts with the film rights to the characters are just really bizarre and kind of unprecedented. And it's just basically whoever has more money to claim that, like, oh, the other studio has not been working on any version of this project for X amount of time. So since we own the publishing company, it reverts to us. And some judge is like, yeah, sounds
It's also sometimes out of spite. You rather tear down your competitor than if you know you can't fight a big competitor, you're going to tear them down. So it's like, I'm just going to withhold this. Sony could always just give Marvel Spider-Man, but they're like, why would I do that? If I own the rights to Blade, I'd be like, no, you don't get it until my contract is up.
So throughout the 2010s, the rights of Blade had reverted to Marvel Studios. And then in July 2019, after Avengers Endgame, and Marvel was now trying to signal the dawn of a new era, that July, San Diego Comic-Con 2019, Kevin Feige closed out the Marvel Studios Hall H panel by announcing that Mahershala Ali would be playing Blade in a future film, release date to be determined. That was their big announcement. They got two-time Oscar winner Mahershala.
Yeah. And again, that was years ago. This was years ago. Years ago, you guys. Years ago.
We've talked a lot about like what Mahershala would have had to have been paid as like a signing fee just to say, sure, I'll play this character. Sure, I'll walk out on stage at Comic-Con. And we feel like that would have had to have been, after him winning 2 Oscars, somewhere in the ballpark of $500,000.
It's very interesting because once you get the Academy Award under your belt, you have to keep that afloat. And he has. He acts and everything. And he's modeling too. I always forget that, like, he models.
I think $500,000 just because he won 2 Oscars. He was the voice of Uncle Aaron in Into the Spider-Verse at that point. The signing fee at that point, after Avengers Endgame, he might have been like, okay, you guys have the money. You need a new face of your new era, and I can be that. And his agent's probably like, cough it up.
I hope he gets $500,000. I think he's worth $500,000. The way he's so active in it from social media and like what his stands are and how he's the one speaking out before anybody else about it makes me believe that he is like Chadwick Boseman was to Black Panther, where they're like, he's more than the character. He helped on set. Like he helped with figuring it out and blowing this world out. So I wonder if Mahershala is still doing that. And that would make sense why he's like, I get paid $500,000. So I'm going to be more invested than normal.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll end up having a producer credit, which would be pretty rare
at this point.
Yeah.
At this point, he's been the one releasing the information that people are asking about, which is insane. No one should expect Florence Pugh to be telling us where Thunderbolts are, but oh, well, she is. She is. Yes.
So continuing with the timeline here, October 1st, 2020. So we're in the middle of COVID, and Mahershala says on the Tightrope podcast that, you know, when he first approached Marvel Studios about playing Blade, they were considering rebooting the character in a television series rather than a film, and that, quote, it took a couple years for them to come to the conclusion to cast him in the film. So this is like a two-way street, a negotiation. And around this time, The Hollywood Reporter confirmed that Marvel was looking for writers for the film, and then in February of the following year, 2021, Stacey Osei Kuffour was hired to write the first draft of the script, and production originally wanted to begin in September 2021, but had been pushed back to July 2022 to give the script more time to come together. And then in September 2021, Bassam Tariq was announced as this movie's director. And shortly after this was November 2021, the Eternals film releases, featuring Mahershala Ali's voice as Blade off screen, meeting Kit Harington as Dane Whitman when Dane picks up the ebony blade, and we hear a voice say, "Sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?" Just, were you there at that screening with me, or is that a different?
I think I saw Eternals at such a normal theater time.
Okay, because when I watched it at the press screening, it was the same press screening where the guy who writes for Variety later just that night posted that Harry Styles was in the movie. And everyone sitting around me when we heard, "Oh, sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?" Everyone's like, "That's Sam Jackson." You know, like everyone was convinced it was just not like no one said Mahershala Ali, and I'm like, it doesn't sound like Sam Jackson
Jeffrey
to me.
Wright.
Some people were saying it's The Watcher because new episodes of What If had been coming out.
Stop it. That was like that one time I went on IMDb and I noticed on Nate Moore's photos was Jeffrey Wright, but it was also because he did like a documentary with Jeffrey Wright. But I was like, this is a weird still to use to show for Nate Moore on IMDb because it's another bald-headed black man.
So in November 19th, 2021, Delroy Lindo has joined the cast in an unknown role. And Delroy Lindo is just an amazing actor who you've seen in everything, especially throughout the 90s, but most recently he was in Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods and was so good in that movie. I don't know if he would be the villain of the story. There's a couple different roles that he could be playing. And then in February 2022, Aaron Pierre joins the cast in an unknown role, and he's an English actor. He voices a young Mufasa and everyone's most anticipated film this winter, Joe Mufasa. Jessica does not approve of me calling that movie Joe Mufasa.
And you keep going.
I'm not going to yes and that.
Yes.
And that's fair.
I know how to respond to babies that cry. let them get this out of their system.
Jessica's practicing the Ferber method on me right now. Just kind of like, cry it out just a little bit. I'll check in on you in 8 minutes. So April 27, 2022, the working title of Blade was revealed as Perfect Imprints. What do you think they were going with by Perfect Imprints?
It's the bite marks, which is a weird, I don't like that. I don't like that. It also feels like a romance book. Like it could have been Twilight.
Yeah, Twilight : Perfect Imprints.
Right? It sounds like it could have been easily a romantic, smutty novel.
Or a chapter in True Detective or an Anne Rice novel or something like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ew, I don't like that. I think it's also too close to Perfect Implants. And I don't like either of these.
Primo.
Perfect creepiness.
Then in June 23, 2022, Milan Ray joins the cast. She's a young actress who I believe is now a teenager, but she was like a child star in a couple different things. July 2022, Blade has officially announced its release date. This is at that year's Comic-Con. November 2nd, 2023. The production date was pushed back to October 2022. And then rumors start to swirl that things aren't really going that well as they're nearing this production start date. And right on the eve of the production start date, September 27th, 2022, the director of this movie, Bassam Tariq, leaves. They part ways. And then Marvel hires a new writer to do the most recent draft, and that writer is Bo DeMeo, who has gone on to write X-Men 97 and was fired by Marvel for reasons we still do not know. And then October 11th, 2022, production just shuts down at this point because they're still searching for a new director. The release date of the movie was pushed back from November 2nd, 2023, all the way to September 6th, 2024. And then as of November 21st, 2022, Jan de Mange was announced to be directing and is still directing this film as we speak. Michael Starbury was announced to be writing a new script. Production set to begin the following May. And you might know this director for directing the first episode of Lovecraft Country.
As soon as we started hearing like everyone working on it, I was like, yeah, this is all good. These are all great people. They worked on projects that could align easily with Blade.
In April 2023, Mia Goth was announced to be joining the cast.
And now take what I said, flip it, reverse it.
And then this same month, they bring in a new writer, Nick Pizzolatto, who wrote the first couple seasons of True Detective and made some headlines when True Detective Night Country was coming out, saying some really unkind things about that season. Which, dude, just collect your executive producer credit payment and let this show exist. The world of Hollywood filmmaking comes to a halt in May 2023 when the WGA strike shuts everything down. And that includes everything with Blade, because Blade does not have a finished script yet. So they're still writing it, and then they have to shut down. At this point, in June of 2023, the release date was pushed all the way to February 15th, 2025. And then on the other side of the strike, right as the strike ended, a bunch of announcements got made. Michael Green would now be doing a page 1 rewrite of Blade. So they didn't like what Bo DeMeo came up with. They didn't like what Nick Pizzolatto came up with. They brought in Michael Green, who is the co-writer of the Wolverine Logan film, had written a script for Blade Runner 2049, Alien Covenant, Murder on the Orient Express, wrote American Gods. So far, this might have been the most accomplished screenwriter they had at that point.
I met Michael Green last night. I did not know that he was working on Blade. I should have harassed him for Blade. I saw him for Blue Eyed Samurai on Netflix because he wrote on that with his wife. So another great thing he's done. He's touched. But I'm like, damn. He wouldn't have told me shit. He wouldn't have told me shit.
You could have gotten a yes or no.
I'm like, you want to take shots really quick? Now tell me about Blade. Perfect imprints. What's that about?
The director, Jan Demange, confirms at this point, November 2023, that the film will be rated R. And shortly after this, the release date for Blade was pushed to November 7th, 2025, which is still, as of this taping, its release date. But then this past March in 2024, Aaron Pierre says he left. He hasn't been with it for a while now. And I kind of am wondering, was he the villain? Because of everyone who they cast other than Mahershala Ali, he seems to be like the most rising star. It kind of seemed like, he'd be an interesting villain. That brings us to now. Daniel RPK said that the story is locked, but they are looking for a new writer to, sounds like, do some polish or maybe just some punch-ups or something like that. The filming will begin in Mexico or Brazil in fall 2024, and they are currently looking for a new male villain. So where do we stand with Blade right now? Well, the release date remains at November 7th, 2025. Jan Demange is still directing. Michael Green is still attached as a screenwriter. They're just bringing in another screenwriter. And then the cast includes Mahershala Ali, Delroy Lindo, Mia Goth. We're not really sure what part Aaron Pierre was playing. There may be some other people attached to it, but that's who we're leaning at right now. Let's take a pause here and just kind of wonder, how do we feel about where Blade is? I mean, are you still excited for this film?
Still always will be excited for Blade, but I love him as Blade. And so I'm very excited for this regardless. And I like Michael Green's work, so I have faith in the script. Mia Goth will probably be like not a good person. She'll probably be a vampire lady, and I think that's great for her. So I'm still very excited. And the hoops that it had to go through are kind of understandable. The big picture, big budget movies will go through so many script writers. And then they lock the story, but they still have 2 other writers that have to redo some things to it. And then they have the one that's on set that has to adjust the script. And then afterwards they edit and post and do everything else to it. So it makes sense, but they had additional hoops that were the strike, everything happening at Disney, people getting moved, people getting fired, things getting swapped, the money getting debudgeted. So it makes sense. Yeah. It just is a weird array of unfortunate events after unfortunate events that kept attaching to it.
I mean, we also had COVID in the early stages of development for this.
Oh my God.
And now COVID shouldn't have gotten away of writing. In fact, it sounds like a lot of screenwriters just got to work during COVID and got a lot of stuff written, but that wasn't the case for everyone. And the way Marvel Studios develops their projects, they do it almost by committee. They have a lot of meetings, they share storyboard art and stuff like that. So that might have actually hurt Marvel Studios production for stuff, because they won't just take a script from a screenwriter and be like, this is what our movie is now. They have to weigh in heavily on it.
It's a weird project to touch for Marvel, I feel like, because Blade has so much on its back already and on its shoulders in history that it's like, okay, here's how we're gonna do it, but then how many hands are gonna be in the pot? Because it also has to be like, it's not 90s Blade, it's Blade today, and it's Blade attached to the new MCU. So how is he going to impact it? So far, it's only been with Eternals. So it's going to be a lot of talking to people and also trying to fulfill that nostalgia that everybody wants from the original Wesley Snipes Blade.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like 3 additional hurdles. Bob Iger returning to Disney, the major Marvel scale back that affected everything. It affected new Rockstars in a huge way. The fact that they're doing far less Marvel projects per year. They're trying to focus on what they say is quality over quantity, but I think that just means they're not going to rush to production scripts that they don't feel 100% confident confident in. Oh, we just learned today that Mahershala Ali is in talks to join Gareth Edwards' Jurassic World movie with Scarlett Johansson in that cast, and it's coming out in July 2025, which is Universal's biggest franchise. So is that like a title shift? If Mahershala leaves, Jessica, are you done with this project?
Maybe, because I'm trying to think of every black man that can take that role, and they've already been in the MCU, and or they're too young.
Jonathan Majors is available. I'll leave. Bye-bye.
But you know what? I was just thinking about it. We should put Cat Williams in this role. I was thinking about it today, and maybe this should go to Cat Williams. I might see it if it was Cat Williams.
I would totally watch that movie.
No,
Are you kidding?
I'm like trying to think, and
just every take he's pausing to spill some tea over someone else who wronged him.
And I'd be like,
we here at New Rockstars love one-shot energy, but we also love one-shot focus chews and one-shot voice drops. It just depends on what mood you're in. I need a one-shot energy chew. Chew, 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 chew. Huh? I need a one-shot focus chew.
Eternity. I need a one-shot voice drop.
One-shot energy chews, one-shot focus chews, and one-shot voice drops are all natural, delicious ways to make it through your day. Stock up on One Shot today by going to oneshotenergy.com/newrockstars for 10% off your order.
I would love to see a new person take this role too and be introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It'll just be hard for me to be attached because I just don't know who this person is yet, but everyone deserves an opportunity. It's just when you have Mia Goth also in it, they're going to get the more publicity than a newcomer is going to get for this role. Because Blade is still old. He's not young. Like, I do not want to see a 30-year-old Blade. Like, I want to see exhausted Blade. Like, I cannot do a young Blade. And I can't really think of many people because I'm like, Yaya would have been fine, but Yaya's not Wonder Man.
Was Yaya wasted on Wonder Man?
Yes and no. Because I thought about Yaya as Kang. And I was like, Yaya, you would have been a great Kang. My favorite Kang, that I wanted, John Boyega, but I know that man is so burnt by Disney.
He's done with Disney.
And I understand, but I was like, oh, this mother could eat this up. He could eat up Kang. I was like, that British acting, he would destroy this role. But I would have liked
British acting.
Well, British actors, they're like stage performers.
They're often more disciplined. They come from more classical training. That's true.
But y'all are bad at musicals, and I said it. And I stand by it. I stand by it. Your musicals,
Tom Holland, who got his start in Billy Elliot.
Mid. But stage theater, great. Perfect.
Miz,
you guys are
Phantom
way better
of the
than
Opera,
us.
Andrew Lloyd Webber. All of this was on the UK side.
I stand by it.
Shakespeare.
I said musicals. I didn't say stage theater. I said stage plays.
Fair.
They murder us in. That's why I was like, no, he's British acting. He's going to devour. He's going to eat it up. Musicals. I don't think it's like you guys started bad. It was a decline over time. The best newest thing you guys gave us was probably Six, the musical. And Six is incredible. It's written by two very young people and I'm loving it. But I'm like, give me more.
You know, you have a point. We're on a tangent right now, but let's live in this tangent. This is good. I prefer this tangent.
No, stop.
Was it because America had jazz. America had the tradition of jazz, which gave us Broadway.
That is true.
And that like Sondheim benefited from that in ways that Andrew Lloyd Webber didn't really benefit from their musical traditions.
Someone needs to break this down. Actually, I'll go look that up later. I'll read a book on this.
There's probably other great channels
because of what came out of here. I mean, I'm not saying that gospel soul doesn't exist in the UK, but I'm like, it's very prominent here.
Yeah, you know what? We're kind of leaving out some kind of specific American thing, you know, that this country did for hundreds of years and just kind of gave us all of our exceptionalism.
I don't know what it is.
I wonder what we could be referring to.
I have to explain our politics when I do the boys breakdowns because I'm like, you guys know Trump, but you don't know what's going on with our mayor in New York currently. Like I always have to break it down.
I think I agree with you. I mean, Sondheim is the greatest Broadway lyricist of all time.
Yes, but I also don't think Marshall. I don't think he's leaving, and I only say that because even when they were shooting, it was Skull Island, and those people were like, it was like. Nick Fury, you guys got Loki, we got and they weirdly made sure they just didn't shoot at the same time. So I think Disney, Marvel, and Universal probably have somewhere they're like, hey, we just got to make sure our shit is not shooting around the same time because we're going to keep taking each other's big people.
Well, speaking of perhaps some inter-studio rivalry, I have to imagine this is affecting Marvel's production of Blade and their development of Blade. Ryan Coogler is producing what sounds like it's going to be a period vampire movie.
Oh, yeah,
with
we
Warner
got two
Brothers.
black vampire movies. That's true.
Yeah, it's coming out March 7th, 2025. It's going to be starring Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo.
Yeah.
It's going to be both of these movies. And production is currently underway in New Orleans because Ryan Coogler's like, I know what I want to do. I wrote a great script. Michael B. Jordan is attached. We're ready to shoot. And they're going to be shooting that movie. It's going to be coming out first.
Blade could have gone to New Orleans. I don't know why they're choosing Brazil. He could have gone to New Orleans.
Just
That's
run
where he's
with
like
Bo's
from.
script or Nick's script or any of these scripts.
I low-key am like, Ryan, because I could also see Ryan being like, let me do Blade.
And he's like, fine, I'll take my vampire idea and it will be Blade and all other things just differently named. And we'll do it at Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers is like, we need a hit.
When I watch both movies, I will compare whether or not Blade could have been the star of Ryan Coogler's. And if it looks like we could have just spliced Blade in there, then I know that Ryan Coogler has pitched that idea to Marvel and they were like, we're going to go with this guy writing instead.
I think that's why Marvel may have made the shift. I wonder if originally Blade was going to be a period piece.
I would have
with
loved
Blade's
it.
origin.
Well, they can't now because of
when they
Eternals.
heard of Ryan Coogler's script, they got to look at the script and they're like, shit, we can't do Blade as a period piece now. We have to set it in the present day.
Oh, so you think Blade could have started as an origin story?
Yeah, or maybe something that flashes back and forth and like we spend part of it in like earlier 20th century and then flash back to the present or something like that. But they had to like significantly rework portions of it because those portions would have just been, had to be compared with what Ryan Coogler was doing in his movie.
Ryan Coogler's going to eat that script. He's going to eat that script.
It's going to be great. That movie's going to be awesome.
It's going to be so good.
We have to wonder, at the end of the day, did Marvel make a mistake announcing an actor before they had a script or a story angle that they felt good about?
No, I think it still got people really excited. When they're talking about a character that, especially ones that we already really know. So when you hear it, you're like, they're going to do it. But then you're like, are they going to F it up? And then they had to be like, here's the actor, we're not effing it up. And we're like, oh! So I think they had to like attach him to it or we'd just be going crazy.
With Robert Downey Jr. leaving the franchise in April 2019, they were under a lot of pressure to get a new, exciting face. At that Comic-Con announcement, they announced that Natalie Portman was coming back. They announced that there's going to be a new Doctor Strange movie, that there was going to be a WandaVision, and they had Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen on stage, and no one really knew what WandaVision was at that point. We're all very confused. They announced Eternals. They talked about Shang-Chi, but like there was just kind of like, until Mahershala walked out, I think we're all kind of like, that's it. And then Mahershala walked out and we're like, oh, I feel good about the future of Marvel, just with the confidence of him.
That is also true. He just has that, even when he spoke at the Academy Awards where they each got to say one thing about each person nominated, I was like, you got Mahershala. That's a great person to get that's just talking highly about you.
So probably not a mistake. I know everyone's like, you need a script. I think a lot of people who say that on social media don't really have a full understanding of the way these franchise movies are actually made. Like, they knew that they were going to be doing Infinity War and Endgame before they knew what the stories of those movies were going to be. They announced Infinity War Part 1 and 2 years in advance. And that's how Marvel has always operated. And those scripts ended up being good. You just got to get good writers attached to it. And you develop the story. You know what tentpole moments you're going to structure the story around. And then often, or at least in their history, they've been able to do that. I believe they knew they wanted to do a Black Panther movie for years and years and years before Ryan Coogler and his co-writer came in and made that great script. So I think with this one, they're like, oh yeah, we can announce Mahershala and just attach a good writer, a good director, and they'll be able to turn in something good that we can shoot and it'll be a hit. But I think they got freaked out with like, just because of all these weird industry forces, these delays, this Ryan Coogler project.
Does hearing these things change their investors that change their stocks?
I don't own any Disney stock or anything like that.
I wish I did.
But from what I understand, I wish I bought it back before like 10 years ago.
Even
Damn,
then,
that would have been great.
Even then, right?
I think they're far more focused on parks and experiences than they are in films because, like, yes, the film box office is important, but it's not just, you know, Marvel. They're also looking at Star Wars. They're looking at Pixar. They're looking at the Avatar movies. Like, there's all kinds of things that Disney owns that will always be pretty reliable. At the end of the day, I think they're looking at the future of streaming. But really, parks and experiences and then like merchandise and that kind of stuff moves the needle far more for investors.
I will say, in the best way, after Jenny Nicholson's video, they said, they said, we f***ed up.
We need to talk about that.
I love
think,
that
in what
video.
We're watching.
I watched that entire video and I went, the psychological part of selling a fantasy is so, I didn't think about it until I saw that video because I love Disneyland. I'm addicted and it cost me an arm and a leg. I remember once when my family came to visit, I had to like take out a loan to go to Disneyland. And I was like, that's insane that I had to take out a loan to pay for happiness.
Jenny gets to some really interesting points specifically about the Disney parks beyond the hotel at the end of that video, as you know. And I don't think she's wrong, but I think she acknowledges this. The parks are still full every day. People are still coming to pay all that stuff. They're still buying all this food, all this stuff at the gift shop. Like they're doing it because it works. It works.
And what we need to do, you guys, is we need to go to Knott's Berry Farm and tell them to get rid of the Looney Tunes and the Peanuts because it's confusing and distracting. Fix their sound system, and we need to run up in there as a unit, dressed up as different Marvel characters, and we can make it. We can make it. They don't care about costumes at Knott's Berry Farm. They don't care about anything.
Right. That's right.
We just come ourselves.
We need to go to Knott's Berry Farm. We need to go to every Six Flag, every Busch Gardens, the Holy Land experience, and we need to bring our business to these parks.
I will dress up as B-15 with my broomstick, and y'all can take photos with me.
I'll be Mephisto and walk through the Holy Land experience and scare the shit out of everybody. You know what's fun about the Not Scary Farm experience is the scary people can talk to you and interact with you. They can't do that at Universal because, you know, they're all like licensed, whatever.
That's why you got to go to the cheap, dangerous places. Like Not Scary Farm. Come on, you guys. If we all, as a unit, I understand that they have to Pinocchio.
Move as a collective. So the bottom line with Blade is I agree with you, Jess. I think as long as Mahershala is on board, I think it will always still be happening. I think they're not too in the hole with this. Right now, they're not looking to Blade anymore as like the dawn of the new era major tentpole. I think they're looking to Fantastic Four, the next Avengers movie, Thunderbolts, more for that role and that responsibility. And they're just trying to get this movie made and keep it on time. So next week on New Rockstars, we're going to have the breakdown of the premiere of The Acolyte. There's going to be 2 episodes. I'll be doing Easter egg breakdowns for both of them in one video that comes out on Wednesday. But be sure to check out the Break Room channel on Tuesday night because you'll be able to see myself and Brandon and Maud doing an after show, just kind of reacting to what happens in the episode and going over some of the biggest questions that you'll have after episode 1 and 2. No promises, but we're working on a re-breakdown of Inside Out from 2015 because Inside Out 2 will be coming out the following week. You'll have our breakdown of that because my wife worked on it. I was able to tour the set. I'm so excited to finally share what I've been living with all of you. And then we'll have a few other videos that are still in the works that we can't say more about just yet because we don't really know. Let's close out with another segment of What We're Watching. Did you spin too?
I spent halfway because I don't know what the back of my head looks like and I'm not willing to show a lot of people.
We started talking about what we're watching. I did watch all of the Jenny Nicholson video. I just kind of have to go on a rant here because I loved this video. It was like my favorite thing on YouTube and it still is. And I really like all of Jenny's content. She's doing such amazing work and she's just so good at this kind of thing. What has been hilarious to me is to see how like there's this army of like Disney defenders that are going after her and people who work in affiliation with Disney who are basically calling her experience like a fake experience. But it's like she brought the receipts. She showed the screen grabs of her app. And what like infuriated me so much about this, maybe it's just like an increasingly old man, is how much Disney is relying on apps on your phone. And like if you could have just invented this immersive experience in a way that didn't require people to use their phones, but just pay actors to talk to people, it would have been 10 times better. And it would have been as cool as an escape room. Just have people push buttons that unlock doors. Like, why do you have to have people use their phones? I just hate that. I hate that about going to Disneyland now, that you have to use your phone, the Genie Pass,
Genie app,
all that
the
shit.
Pass. I hate it. I despise it more than anything in my life. Again, they're like, if you can afford this hotel, you can afford a cell phone. And I'm like, I hate this. I hate that we are relying on our phones to do anything here, because we're giving these to our children have to live the experience. I'm not living the damn experience. I mean, I would be if I was there because I'm a nerd. But I'm also like, my mom would just be like, I don't know what the hell my daughter's doing. Why do I have to give her my phone? She's going to be running around all day.
I think if you have a phone in your hand, you're not immersed in what you're doing.
You're not. And it also, it does take you out of the experience. It does take you out of the experience a little bit.
But I appreciate how she gave it, a properly good review when it came to food and the performances of the actors. And I like that she did that. I mean, it's a long ass video, but it has increased. I think a negative side effect of this video is it has worsened the discourse on social media for quote unquote Disney shills. And in the past, New Rockstars has been accused of being Disney shills in the past just because we tend to not say anything negative. But that has been our philosophy when it comes to reviewing films and TV, that we try to be appreciative of the craft. And we've been doing that before we even were a major Marvel and Star Wars channel. We used to be a Game of Thrones and Walking Dead channel primarily. And we had that same approach to Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead. And we just have, as we started to cover more Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff as well, that's just how I look at movies. I don't want to do negative takedowns of movies, because I know that a lot of talented artists work on it, and if someone likes something, I don't want to ruin it for them. But when it comes to things like The Acolyte, it's just now it's everyone is calling everyone a Disney shill, and no one can be trusted, and it's just that sucks.
I think I am always called a Disney shill because I like all of the female and POC properties, and then because people will be like, just because this is a shit, you're lying. And I'm like, I'm not lying, because I have talked shit about the ones that I don't like outwardly. I think you guys just don't click onto the ones that I don't like because you also don't like it. And to be fair, it's only been 2. I also like everything. I like everything. It's really hard to find something I don't like. The thing that I don't like is Love is Blind, because that's embarrassing. And I can't watch that without cringing and feeling like a crazy person. I don't know how people watch that show. It is hard to watch.
Yeah, we've also done, especially after the finales of some of these Disney Plus series that have not stuck the landing, go watch our reviews and our videos, and we're pretty overtly critical of them.
The Secret Invasion one that says, what the hell went what is the title?
What went wrong with this? Yeah, that was one of our biggest videos. I think people are just kind of selectively picking and choosing based off of their own experience with our channel. And the term shill has just become so politicized. And it's just I know what you guys mean by it, but Disney does not pay us to do any of our content. They allow us and channels who are equally negative about their content just the ability to make videos and reactions to their content, but they do not require us to give positive reviews of anything. They don't require us to sing praises of any of their content. They just do something that every studio does and just gives press a chance to ask their creators questions with interview junkets, and gives us the chance to see things early so that we can start preparing our content about it.
Truly. Do you want to know what I've been watching?
Yeah, what have you been watching? I'm sorry I didn't ask.
So I've been watching Storage Wars, and I went from Dance Moms to Storage Wars.
Storage Wars is great.
The thing about Storage Wars is
so good.
Which I'm sure 90% of the audience watching, I think I'd be good at it. There is a very I think I could do it. And the thing is, we all can do it. I watch that show, and some of these people are betting only $90 and then finding the oldest guitar, and then they take it to their friend who is the guitarist for Aerosmith and go, how much is this for? And he goes, $5,000. And you go, cha-ching. And I'm like, I think I could do this show. Storage Wars is a wild show. That show is insane. And I think it's more crazy that they don't talk about the process of why these storages are up for auction.
Yes.
I think about that every time. I'm like, did the person pass away? Did the people not be?
Because someone died, or there was some crime that was committed.
Or they passed, or like they just can't afford it. And or then I also had a like epiphany. I'm like, what if someone like last minute shows up, they're recording, and it's like, I finally have enough money to pay for my storage. Please don't auction it. And they're like, well, too late. Buddy just bought it for $600. I'm like, it's so wild. Some of these places are like one had a bunch of old fireman equipment, and it was pristine from like the 50s. And they were like, hell yeah. Then next thing you know, giant fire truck comes up. They're like, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, we have to confiscate all this because it's actually highly flammable and very old and breakable and damaging. And we can't have that since we're the fire company. And they took it all away. So the people spent like $4,000 on the storage, and it had to be seized by the fire department. Regardless.
That's awesome.
That's what I'm watching right now to relax after a hard day of work.
That's a good show. That's good, relaxed content.
I told my mom, and she said, how old are you? And I was like, do you have
75?
I was like, do you have to be old to watch Storage Wars? Is that weird?
I guess it's the type of thing. It's one of those shows like Bar Rescue. I think they may be watched by some older audiences, but they can be enjoyed by all ages. I used to watch the surfing, the life, who are the people that sit at the top of the things at the beach to save you? Lifeguards?
Yeah, I used to watch an Australian
Baywatch?
lifeguard show. No, not Baywatch. It's an Australian like reality show like lifeguards, and they always have to save people. They had to save a rat from the bottom of a skate park, and the rat was like, because they jump, and the rat kept jumping at them, and they were like, we can't, I don't want to save the rat.
Wait, they were lifeguarding at a skate park?
They were lifeguarding at a beach, but they're also like the security and the patrol, they're every part of it.
So it's kind of like Venice Beach. There's
yes. They're all of the above. Like if someone is drowning, they have to get on the quads and go out. But like it's also in Australia, so I don't know what goes on. But
they're also like the FBI of Australia.
Yeah, they're also very hot, and they ride on the buffest kangaroo. One of them actually is a buff kangaroo.
That's why he's like, we have to save the rat. He's part of
the kangaroo's about to fight him. They're like, no, get the kangaroo out of there. He's always trying to fight things.
Well, let us know what you're watching in the comments down below. I feel like I made it worse by bringing up the show conversation.
I think I made it worse bringing up how the UK is not good at musicals anymore.
We both are going to have people coming at us.
I'm going to have people coming for you. And the thing is, you have a right to come at me. I said it was a steady decline. I didn't say it was always bad. I just don't think it's getting good in 2024.
We have Shrek the musical, and the conversation should end there.
So how about you go fuck yourself, because we have SpongeBob and Shrek the musical. Dumbasses. What do you got, Sweeney Todd?
Hey, Sondheim was an American songwriter, my friend.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Hey, so comment down below. Follow Jess at Lulu_Clemons. Follow me at EA Voss. Follow all 3 channels in the New Rockstars network, the New Rockstars Deep Dive, and the Break Room. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.